Welcome to the Chris Getz era edition of Sharing Sox. I'm a Southside Sox duty geezer, Leigh Allan. With me, my son and West Coast correspondent, Will. Uh, on the day that Chris Getz was officially announced as the White Sox senior vice president at the age of 40 and general manager, uh, I don't know if out in Los Angeles you've been following the comments that have followed this. I was coming in, I was going grocery shopping this morning, listening in the car to the score, and they were excoriating the White Sox. I mean, we knew it was coming, but even knowing it was coming and then having it happen, it's an incredibly bad thing. But first, before we get way into that, let's talk about the waiver wire because this is waiver deadline day, and we know what happened with
Yep.
all the White Sox players or ex-players involved. Very interesting that Lucas Giolito and Reynaldo López, as well as Matt Moore, left-handed reliever from Angels, got picked up by Cleveland. You know, a long time ago, and I think we agreed, we're saying Cleveland's going to take the division. No question, Cleveland's got this. And meanwhile, they have stunk, and Minnesota has not quite stunk, and so they've had the lead. But I'm coming back. Guardians are 5 games back. Yeah, Giolito's been really bad out in Los Angeles, but he's not a bad pitcher, and there's nobody better at dealing with pitchers than Cleveland. Uh,
True.
if there's a problem that can be handled, and there's nobody worse than the Angels, so if there's a problem that can be corrected with some advice, he's going to get it in Cleveland. Uh, Raylo's been very good. Moore's been very good. So they're
Yeah,
improving their pitching.
it's definitely a sign that Cleveland is going to try to win this thing. I don't know why
Well,
you wouldn't try to win this thing. You're only 5 games back, and nobody's
and
good.
besides these guys, I checked it out after they picked up these guys. Bieber, McKenzie, both due back in mid-September. Quantrill due back tonight. We're recording on Thursday, the day of Chris Getz, August 31st. So all of a sudden, it's back to Cleveland's got one hell of a pitching staff, baby. Instead of Cleveland's trying to make do with 4 rookies. Uh, it's going to be
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
I, I mean,
They may regret that they let Bell go.
you still got the whole month of September, so we are by no means at the end of this thing yet, especially in the bad divisions. It's kind of a bummer that the White Sox will not play Cleveland again for the rest of the season. I was looking forward to Giolito's return to, see him pitch against the White Sox, but that's not going to happen. Um, Cleveland, I definitely can't rule them out as the division winners. They are going to play three against Minnesota next week, which will be very, very interesting. They have kind of a tough schedule. They're going to play Tampa Bay, then they got
They have a
Minnesota.
much tougher schedule than the Twins do. Definitely.
Yeah,
The Twins have a
they
softball
got to go
schedule.
to San Francisco. They got to play Texas. They got to play Baltimore. They got to play Cincinnati. But that's a pretty brutal month facing a lot of teams that still have something to play for. I mean, those are all teams that are actually fighting to win divisions or get to playoff spots. Even Baltimore, who's looking good in the East, still has a lot of time that they have to hold that lead.
Tampa
And,
Bay
and
is not
Tampa's
falling
right
behind.
there. And when it comes to Texas, they are in a very heated battle for their division now, which I didn't really see coming. It seemed like they had run away from it, but Seattle is the hottest thing on the planet. And so it's going to be really interesting. I mean, if Cleveland was going to take a run at this and actually try to win this division, they had to do something. They had to make a move. I think this was kind of a gift that fell in their lap in a lot of ways, just based on their waiver wire placement and not having to give
Well, sure,
anything up.
they were the very first team with any possibility of a playoff position to get a choice at the waiver wire. They
Correct.
they're below five. They're the only below 500 team. So boom, they got a choice of everybody
But I
and went
read
for the three
very,
pitchers.
very few predictions that Cleveland was going to move on any of these guys. Everybody was talking about the Reds. the Guardians, even
Reds
to
went
the
for
extent.
outfielders.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what the Reds are thinking. I think the Reds are pretty much done. They've been a lot of fun to watch, but I do think that they are really at the end. It's going to be a heated run to the finish line between the Brewers and Cubs in the NL Central, which I didn't see that coming with the Cubs. I'm sure the Cubs would have liked for one or two of these guys to fall all the way down to them, but the downside of being good is you're later in the waiver wire. I think it was a really interesting move for Cleveland to pick up both of these guys. As you said, Giolito
Yeah,
is
I did
not
too.
a bad pitcher. And if Cleveland's going to make a run at this, what were they going to need? They were going to need a little extra pitching help, and they were going to need some of these guys to come back. And now they are looking like they're going to come
And then
back.
particularly picking up the two relievers because you got Tristan McKenzie and Bieber are both off the 60-day. So they're only going to be pitching, they're not going to be throwing 100 some pitches. They're going to probably be under 80 for their first two or three times around. So you're going to need more reliefs. I think it's really smart move. I thought they were incredibly stupid at the deadline, but they've kind of made up for it here. I'm going to a Cincinnati game a week from Friday.
Oh, nice.
Going down to Cincinnati because your niece's birthday is coming up, and
Correct.
your sister got me and the rest of us tickets to the Friday night game with the Reds, so that'll be fun.
Reds and
Do I
the
remember who they're playing? No.
no. Okay, great,
Yeah.
great. That's all right. Well, that'll be cool. Yes, I've been told, not to go off on too much of a family thing here, but my sister did text me that our niece and nephew have been strangely leaning towards Cardinals fandom lately, which I don't even know.
Cardinals?
I don't even know how they know about the Cardinals. But I believe my niece said that she is a Cardinals, Cubs, Reds, and White Sox fan. So I don't know what we need to do to intervene. If you need an actual intervention, what we need to do to sit down your daughter, my sister, because I don't understand this Cardinals things at all. And this isn't even a year where it's cool to be a Cardinals fan. This is actually the worst year,
No. That's
probably
like being
since
a White
I've
Sox
been
fan.
alive. Yeah, well, not that bad, but yeah, it's definitely not good. So when you go to that Reds game, hopefully they're not playing the Cardinals, or you're in real trouble because then she's gonna have a lot to cheer for. They are playing the Cardinals. So wow,
Ah. Oh,
that's
she'll
gonna
be
be
she'll be
interesting.
torn. Now her brother is who started fall ball. We'll do all family stuff here. Heck,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
White
it's
Sox,
Sharing Sox.
but he's gone over to the Reds, which makes sense. If you live in
Yeah, yeah,
Cincinnati.
they live in
Um,
Cincinnati, and I'm sure he's
which
an
incidentally,
avid
I should bring
listener.
this. I should bring this up because you'd forget about it otherwise. Cincinnati has a really, really good NFL team. Are
That's
you a
true.
fan of an NFL team?
I am not a fan of an NFL team. I'm not. I'm
Would you
not
love to
anti.
attend your favorite team's week one game? You're
Well,
in
I
luck
would.
because Fans First Sports Network is giving away four free tickets to the week one NFL game of your choice up to $5,000, which is a heck of a set of tickets. The rules are simple. You go to contest.fansfirstsports, one word, .com. Did you get that?
I got that
Contest.
contest.fansfirstsports.com.
Fansfirstsports.com. All lowercase and one word in there. Now you just fill out the appropriate information, not the inappropriate. We do not ask for inappropriate from anybody. The appropriate information. Once you've done that, you have been officially registered to win 4 free tickets to any week one NFL game. And the deadline is coming up on Monday, so don't mess around.
Well, I know
All
I've
right.
thrown this out there before that I'd be willing to attend a game with the winner, and since I don't really have a full NFL fandom, if you win the contest and decide that I'm going to be one of your 4 people to go to the game, I will be a fan of whatever team you choose for the rest of my life. I'm going to offer up the rest of my life fandom to the
Best
NFL
of
team
life.
of your choice. I am sweetening that pot. You can make me go to an Arizona Cardinals game, and I will have to become an Arizona Cardinals fan. You could make me go to a Cleveland Browns game. The options are almost endless. Well, they're 30 or 32, whatever's in the NFL.
32.
So not quite endless, but I'm going to offer that up to sweeten the package. If you win and you take me, I will for life commit to being a fan of whatever team you make me go see. I will do that.
He's not speaking to me now. He's speaking to you out there in podcast.
I'm speaking to you, the listener. You, the listener. I would not give the geezer any sway over my fandom.
Fansfirstsports.com. All right, enough football. Excuse me.
So we are back to baseball. Back to baseball.
Well, before we get to baseball, let's get to the Fatfold firearms fiasco.
Yeah.
Nobody has any idea whether it came from inside or outside the stadium. Some experts, they brought in all kinds of experts now. Some are saying, yeah, it could have been from outside the stadium. And the other expert goes, no way in hell it came from outside the stadium and had enough velocity left to cut into the woman's leg like that. So anyway,
this was a bad week for ballpark security. This was a bad week for ballpark security. Between the White Sox gun incident and Ronald Acuna Jr. being tackled by fans and security in the outfield in Denver, this was not a showcase week
apparently
for ballpark security.
These fans were not attacking him in an aggressive fashion.
Well, the first guy definitely. Yeah, first guy was trying to get a selfie, and it actually looked like Acuna Jr. was going to take the selfie with him, which I guess is kind of what you have to do till security gets there. Otherwise, you're arguing with a random stranger about a selfie in the middle of center field in Denver. The second guy who came up, who Acuna stiff-armed, was coming in a little too hot for my liking. But yeah, the White Sox fiasco. I would hope not. I would hope these weren't sober decisions. The White Sox gun fiasco is just an absolute, this whole year has been a level of embarrassing that we honestly, I don't think even foresaw. And this is just the icing on the cake. You got two people who get shot in a game. You don't pause the game at all to try to figure this out. And then you discover, then people start saying, oh, it comes from outside the park, which of course just adds to the rhetoric about Chicago in the worst way. And I was also extremely skeptical of that theory from the start because of the velocity issue you said. It's not like you can shoot straight into the ballpark. So that thing was going to have to go up and come back down. Possible? Maybe possible. Probable? Absolutely not. So then you get to the belly fat fold theory, which is very intriguing.
You got to admit, it is, even if it's totally, absolutely false. The one woman, the one who was more seriously injured, has gotten a lawyer, which is interesting. And the lawyer says, no, she did not. There's no way. And the cops say, no, there's no gun residue on her clothes. So, right. Really, the thing is, nobody knows. Now, as far as evacuating the park, most of the experts now who are finally coming, they're saying, nah, they made the right decision.
Well, you don't want to evacuate the park, but the fact that there was no pause or seemingly thorough check-in on these two shot people in the stands. I mean, obviously, if one theory is it's coming from outside the park, you don't want to evacuate the park. But I will say, I realize that the lady is claiming that this didn't happen and she's got a lawyer. But let's be real. If you did sneak a gun into a major league ballpark in your belly fat, are you going to fess up? Are you going to be honest about that? You're facing jail time, most likely. You discharged a firearm illegally in a Major League Baseball stadium. It's not looking good. You probably don't want to admit to it right away. I'm excited to find out where this goes. I have no clue what the actual answer is going to be. I'm not buying the
I love the belly fat fold theory just because it's
I do too. I mean,
apparently it's going by the wayside because they've checked now all of the women involved who are all teachers, Chicago public school teachers.
Hmm.
And
That makes me
they
doubt
they
the theory then a little more.
they found them all coming into the park because the original story said she set off the uh, alarms going through the metal detector 3 times, and then they said, okay. But they showed all of them, and none of them ever were stopped or questioned or set off anything going through the alarm. Boy, speaking
Ah.
of alarms, apparently we have 25 fire engines on our street here.
Well, I mean, it is now sounding like the belly fat theory could be bogus, but how did it happen then? And of course, they haven't retrieved a weapon, right?
No,
So
no,
if she had the weapon, you would
they're
find the
apparently
weapon.
still in the process, and I don't understand why they're still in the process of analyzing the bullet. And ATF has come in to help. I believe Chicago PD should be able to go. Well, that's from a 22 uh, or a 45. It, it I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Well, I mean, ballistics, they can trace it to the exact gun these days, but
Well, of course,
wow, this is going to
but
be
they
a
need the
real
gun.
mystery. This is a real mystery. I have no clue. Do you have a third theory? We have outside the ballpark.
I,
We have
I,
belly
I,
fat.
I. How about it wasn't really a bullet?
Hmm. They don't
Uh,
have the bullet.
oh yeah, they do.
Well, your theory
But
is squashed. That theory's dead in the water,
I'm thinking
unfortunately.
had a plate of helmet nachos, or not a plate, a helmet of nachos, and bit down on a really, really hot jalapeno,
Okay.
which blew a tooth out of her mouth, which shot down
Wow.
through her thigh and into her calf.
So
And
the nacho.
that's why they haven't analyzed it.
I hear you on the nacho tooth theory. A lot of people believe that's what happened to JFK as well. But we've had a lot of science around that says that the heat from the jalapeno cannot eject a tooth from the body at a bullet level speed. So I'm not saying your theory's wrong. I'm just saying I'm going to put it in with the outside the ballpark and belly fat gun theory. I have no other theories. I mean, where the heck did this thing come from? I guess it must have come from outside. Now my mind is just boggled because now I'm like, well, if she didn't have a weapon, and obviously the nacho tooth theory is weak at best, then I guess it did come from outside the ballpark. But how and how to the point where it would puncture
But it
someone?
could be a
I'm wondering.
security guard. I mean, that
Security
one of the
guard.
early theories was a security guard accidentally firing at him. But you know what? Gunshots make a lot of noise,
Yeah,
a lot of noise, and somebody should have heard that.
and I did
And it
watch
did
the
not
video
occur
of the
during a
crowd.
time that the White Sox hit a home run.
Right. Which they have been doing a lot of lately. But I did watch the video, like slowed down, broken down video of the section when it happened. And there does not appear to be. You see people kind of look around a little, but it doesn't seem to be in reaction to any kind of
No,
noise. It just seems to be in reaction to whatever she is saying or doing.
she's because she was shouting. Yeah, that's what they said, and that's what they reacted to. Nobody heard anything. The one woman who ended up with a bullet in her the hood of her hoodie, which was wrapped around her waist, which is really weird, incidentally. Said she heard kind of a whooshy thing and a ping, uh, which I don't even know why you keep
Wait, she's
checking inside
claiming
your hoodie
she
after the game.
heard the bullet? She's claiming she heard the flight of the bullet? This just gets better and
Well,
better.
she could.
This just gets better
Well,
and
it
better.
could have
So,
pinged off.
no, but the whoosh implies that she heard the bullet flying through the air, then pinging, and then somehow landing in her hoodie. Or it hit a belt buckle or something and landed in the hoodie tied around her waist. This is the mystery of the ages. I realize that I shouldn't be advertising for another podcast on our podcast, but whatever podcast gets made, about figuring out where this bullet came from. I am there. I am there for all 8 episodes. Let's go. We got to take our break, though, because we got to come back and talk about our new general manager.
Baseball would be
We're
good.
all very excited about. Hey, the White Sox, if the White Sox are going to give these gifts, we got to acknowledge them on the podcast. It's not every day you get a belly fat gun theory. So hang in there. We'll be right back on Sharing Sox. Welcome back to Sharing Sox. We talked waiver wire and misplaced bullets in the first half, as well as a little football talk. If you're looking for an opportunity to attend opening week of football, go back and listen to part 1 and hear our very improvised pitch on how you can do that. What's that email, or what's that website again, one more time?
We're going to give them an extra freebie announcement. Contest.fansfirstsports.com.
There you go. Contest.fansfirstsports.com.
And that was actually was appropriate that you did that, because the word fans first was in there. And I don't mean this for the ad. Fans first is something that owners of professional baseball and basketball and football, etc. teams, hockey teams, sports teams, they say that fans come first, don't they? Don't they think fans first?
They do.
Well, not with the Chicago White Sox.
No, we're not
fans
last organization.
No. Fans, we scorn.
Fans last. Which brings us to our, apparently we are fine with being as mediocre or worse as anybody can be, in our new general manager, Chris Getz, who I vaguely remember as a player when I was attending games at a younger age. Chris Getz is now the guy
as a player
running the White Sox.
I'd like to point this out because there was some talk about well, he's been a player, so that's important. I think even Steve Stone mentioned that talking on the score this morning. I got his interview in the middle. 7 years Chris Getz amassed. How many more do you think? I'm going to be more now, I think.
I'm going to go -0.3.
You are such a horrible person. It was a positive 1.4.
Hey, that's not bad. That's not bad. I mean, it's not good, but I said negative.
It means that he was never in 7 years better than AAA player, but he gets to wear a major league uniform. So.
Hey, I have never for 1 year been better than a AAA player. So that is quite the achievement. Congrats, Mr. Getz. I have a
But you didn't get the general manager's job either.
I know.
Or even interviewed, I bet.
I have a close personal connection with a podcast friend of ours for the Chris Getz story, which is Eric Laughlin, who's been a guest on the podcast a couple times. He used to wear a Chris Getz jersey to every single White Sox game. He bought it on the discount rack after the season in the little, Chicago Sports Depot attached to the stadium. I think he got this jersey for $2, something like that. I used to razz him like crazy because every year he's out there sporting Chris Getz, even though Getz hadn't even been on the team for years. So, we get this big news. This morning, I have a text from him. You're not going to believe it, man. I lost the Chris Getz jersey. So when Chris Getz, when he could finally have the most relevant piece of memorabilia in White Sox Stadium, he does not have it anymore. It is just a heartbreaking end to a really devoted Getz fandom. I would guess he is Getz's only fan, the only one. And
it's mom probably.
Yeah, outside of the family. So yeah, the bottom line here is we have Chris Getz now as our general manager.
After 7 years of total, absolute, complete, unmitigated failure running the minor leagues.
Yeah, so we are going to bring that style up to the major leagues, which we had actually already been doing. So it kind of is a perfect fit if you think about how he was doing in the minors and how we were doing in the majors. There's a lot of crossover there. There's a lot of crossover in just really, really bad baseball. So maybe he is the guy.
Paul Sullivan's column, which was just written before we went on, he was essentially saying, well, I guess they like what's been going on. That's essentially, we get to maintain the status quo. Yay for
Yeah.
us. I think Reinsdorf's release says that Getz is going to bring a lot of excitement to the team. Uh, yeah.
How? How? How is Chris Getz taking that job bringing excitement to the team? And when is that excitement going to come? Because it can't come right now. So what excitement are we referring to? Because I think for Chris Getz to be able to cause excitement, he would have to have an owner that's willing to spend money on players and fan experience. And I don't believe Mr. Getz has been afforded that luxury. As far as I can tell, with our Andrew Benintendi being the biggest contract in White Sox history, I don't see us going out for Shohei in Chris Getz's first term as general manager, or anyone else, really.
One of the things that the guys on the score were talking about this morning that happened here while I was in the car, guys and girls on the score, because Leo was in there too. It's not the money for the play. Well, it is the money for the players, of course, but it's the money for the whole system. Talking about how these other teams have double, triple, quadruple the analytics, the scouting, the everything that you need to be good at figuring out what players to take and how to develop players, which obviously Getz has done absolutely no player development. I don't know. We just don't develop players at all in our farm system. There's a reason.
No.
I just looked at the farm system ratings. I think we came in 26th, even after selling off half our pitching staff to get prospects.
Wow. That is really bad because we were, 27th or 28th, and now we're up to 26th.
Yeah, maybe it was we were 26, and now we moved up to 22nd or 20. But at any rate, we are way down there after just amassing bodies, including some seemed like pretty good ones. And then I saw some. Well, yeah, but look at all the players that have come up, like Giolito. Giolito was in the majors before the White Sox got him. He'd already pitched for Boston,
right? Or for Washington.
For Washington. Moncada had made a couple games for Boston. These were not guys who were being brought in at the rookie league level and coming up through the ranks. Some of them were. Cease was pretty low, for example, and did come up. But
Cease, our ace with a 5-point-something ERA. Yeah, we really developed Cease well as well. We developed him to make him great and then somehow tore him apart in one quick swoop. Yeah, I don't understand the Getz thing at all. At all. I don't understand the Getz thing at all.
I can tell you.
It's easy.
Exactly.
It's easy.
It's easy. But what it is, more than easy, is Jerry Reinsdorf is an absolute control freak.
Yeah.
And he found one person who he could put in there who will never, ever, ever do anything but kiss his ass.
Yeah.
Now, they obviously didn't even look outside the system. All of the guys on the score were saying, why didn't they at least, you don't hire James Click maybe, but don't you talk to him and say, James, what would you be looking for? What would she be doing? What should be changing? And they're saying the same thing. Go to Theo Epstein. No way, Theo Epstein's coming here to work with. Talk to Theo. Get some expertise about.
And also, you don't know that they wouldn't come there. That's the thing. You don't know until you ask these guys.
No, I don't think any self-respecting person with a job of even close to general manager above would come. And it came with, you look back at the Great Fall hiring, apparently it was largely because he said, oh, you want to name the lineup? Okay. Because Ozzie talked about that. When they talked to him, they said, well, what if we want to name what the lineup is? He said, yours. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And any other self-respecting guy would say the same thing. And that, no, it's just so incredible. Yes, would somebody come? I think if it was a huge promotion, so if it was, somebody 3 layers down in Tampa Bay or LA, the Dodgers, wherever, it's a huge promotion. You're going to get paid 7 figures. You give it a shot for a year and then you go, well, I'm done with this.
I can almost guarantee you, though, Chris Getz is going to be, if he's not the lowest, one of the lowest paid GMs in all of baseball. because you know that that is part of the reason as well. You don't get Chris Getz because you got to pay him a lot. You get Chris Getz because it's easy, you can control him, and you don't have to pay him. I mean, I'm sure he's making decent money. Of course, he's GM of a Major League Baseball team. But there's no way Reinsdorf was shelling out, Cashman, Epstein, Click kind of money for Chris Getz. I mean, Jerry Reinsdorf is the cheapest man alive. And he is doing whatever he can to not have to spend any money to make this team better. How long do you think Getz is going to stay in this position?
Well, I think Getz will stay in this position as we go through the Jerry Reinsdorf into his 90s, shaking down the people, the politicians, the people indirectly through the politicians of Illinois and Chicago to get hundreds of $1 millions to watch straight into his pocket to get a new or completely rebuilt stadium. So that the worse the team is, look at the situation in Oakland, right? John Fisher is as horrible a human being as Jerry Reinsdorf.
True.
And well, if you destroy the team and you tear it down to absolutely nothing so nobody cares, well, then you go to Nashville. And Nashville gives you $1 billion.
I don't know why
it's only worth $2.2 billion.
Yeah. I mean, this is. I don't know if this is the beginning of the end or what it is, but this is just pathetic. I mean, it is truly, truly pathetic. We are making all the moves, with obviously you and I were fans of getting rid of Hahn and Williams on the thought that maybe they'd be replaced by someone who knows what they're doing. Then you bring in Chris Getz, you bring in back La Russa in whatever capacity. We've got a terrible farm system. We've got an ace who can't pitch, really. We have a couple good players, one great player, and I don't see a time in the near future where this is a competitive team at all. I just don't.
I had great hopes until really fairly recently of 2025. No hopes for next year. That's gone. But 2025, I'm giving up on that now. Oh, we haven't even mentioned Dayton Moore, and they haven't had the press conference yet, but presumably he's being brought in at some special title capacity. Who knows what?
And why?
So that's
why
the Kansas City connection again. And Getz was at Kansas City as both as a player and as an executive before he came to the Sox. Why? You're the fourth worst team in Major League Baseball. Why? To get your people from manager to general manager to whatever the other title is going to be, do you go to the third worst team?
I don't know. I don't know. That's what I mean. I'm like, is this just the beginning of the end of the franchise? Because you go out and you just fill the White Sox with Royals, who are the only, one of two teams, three teams that's more pathetic. But at least the Royals are kind of in a rebuild and have some guys who might be interesting in the future. This is all so perplexing. So perplexing. It's going to be a disaster. 2024 is out of the question. I think we are at least a fourth place in the division team in 2024. 2025, I think we're a fourth place in the division team.
Hey, I'm 2026 is not out of the question.
Right. I mean, if the Royals do improve,
Kansas City has some good young guys, and Bobby Witt Jr. is finally living up to years of hype. He's having
and Detroit is building in a much more interesting way than we are. They're a little behind, but they're getting there. I think next year is absolutely a last place year for us. I just don't see a world where we are better than last place in the division. I think we're still going to be better than Oakland, wherever they're playing. But I think that's going to be pretty much it. It's a real bummer. Anyway, we are out of time. Do you have any final thoughts before we send our audience off into their new world of Chris Getz?
Well, I checked with a poet friend of mine, and he said, don't place your bets on success with Chris Getz.
Oh, okay. Was the cough part of it? Probably not. But it kind of feels appropriate. Yeah. Don't place your bets on success with Chris Getz. You heard it here first from a famous poet who's probably known as the Geezer, or Sock Santa if you know him from a past life. But that is all the time we have. White Sox fans, hang in there. Someday things will be better. And that's really all I can tell you at this point. Thanks so much for listening, and we will catch you next time on Sharing Sox.